updates from downtown Disney, Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen, and major closures coming soon to Fantasyland. But first, let's talk about Tom Sawyer Island and the aftermath of the Fantasmic fire. Tom Sawyer Island, it has reopened. We speculated this might be the case, that they would find a way to reopen the island within a few days. It took a couple days longer than I thought it might, but it has reopened. They have found a way to sort of section off the front, the front quarter of the island where the stages, where the Fantasmic stages. They're obviously still working on that. But they've done a pretty fair job of restricting the areas that are closed to just the Fantasmic stage. Walls are up near the treehouse and around the mill. You can get all the way to the lunch area there, that the side of the island that faces the Columbia dock. You can go up to the treehouse. You can see the entire treehouse, but there's a little section there where normally you would be able to keep going and then down some steps onto the stage area. And they are still loading you in the traditional loading area. Previously, when they had closed the island or part of the island, when they were updating the Fantasmic fountains, they had guests loading and unloading at an alternate area in the rear of the island. That is not the case. Guests are loading in the traditional spot. Otherwise, the island is pretty much wide open as it was before. The only place you can't go is the front area, the stage area, but you can, like I said, you can see the treehouse. You can do all the games. The rear of the island is open. Pirates Cove is open. Sorry, Dead Man's Grotto is still open. Adventureland Treehouse. We were here last week and we could not find the Sun's Room in that treehouse. It's supposed to be there. Can't find it. It's supposed to be in that top right section where the cheetah, I'm going to pick an animal every week. I'm going to find a new animal to call that. Still nothing there. It looks like I think that they have made some progress in setting up the surrounding area, that's sort of like the definition of the room, but there's still no Sun's Room. There's got to be one, right? I feel like I'm harping on this, but there's got to be a room there. The concept art shows one. Have they abandoned the Sun's Treehouse? What's up? I saw you. So we're still waiting for that to happen. Meanwhile, shooting from the opposite side to take a look at what I believe is going to be Mother's music room. That looks about as we left it. The rail, it looks like they've gone a little bit further in unfinishing the top rail. I don't know what that means in terms of how close we are. We're going to get to that actually in a second, because I don't think we're close at all, but hold that thought. And then looking over at the daughter's room, that looks like they've made a little progress. I want to say that window frame is new, that has arrived since last week, but I can double check that. Can't tell if there's actually proper glass in there, but they have set up some sort of window there in the forward portion of her room. There is proper glass in that music room, in Mother's music room. There is proper glass there, so it could be that they might still do it, although I doubt it. I feel like that's the kind of space where guests might want to be able to kind of look in a little bit closer and not have to look through glass. So even though there is a window frame, probably not going to be proper glass. Otherwise, no observable theming also that I can see anywhere on the exteriors, not in the daughter's room, not in the center room, nor in the still unbuilt son's room. I don't see any theming yet, any sort of, Swiss Family or Adventureland Treehouse type theming that suggests there's supposed to be decorative things out there, like the banner for SEA, the white. Like I said, we're not close. They'll probably do that at the very last minute. Finally, last week we kind of hinted at some looks through some knot. We found a proper, actual knothole right here in the fence. That's old school. Stuck my camera in there, got a quick shot. You can see a little bit of what they're doing there, although it's not exactly. It doesn't tell the whole story. Go on the opposite side near the Indiana Jones Adventure. From here, you can see the rock work, the actual rock work that is creating the definition for the eventual river that surrounds the treehouse. So that's remaining. That's the same, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same rock work that was there before. However, if you go further towards Pirates of the Caribbean, found a crack in the boards here, and this is, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to show you, but I saw quite a lot with my eye. Kind of devastating. They have just destroyed that whole. What they destroyed is the exit. As you leave the little, what do you call it, where the kitchen is and all that on the ground level. Back when it was Tarzan's Treehouse, you would descend the stairs and arrive at a kitchen and a little like botany, a garden, a botanical garden of sorts where they grew, small plants and herbs, etc. There was a waterfall there, and that section looks to have been completely destroyed. I spoke about this in a previous episode where I'm concerned about the future of the waterfall. I don't think it made it, at least not presently. It looks to me, that's that empty space that I saw, you know, and we were talking about last week. I feel like they removed something. It looks like that's what they've removed, is that portion, that the waterfall and the trees in that area. Whether or not that's a final condition, I couldn't say. I sure hope not. As I've said before and many times, the waterfall was the best part of the treehouse. So I do hope they find a way. But for now, my best observation is that the waterfall is gone. But like I said, there has to be a source. It looks like they're keeping the river, those black rocks. Looks like they're keeping the river around the trees, so that water has to source from somewhere. Update from Tiana's Palace. Things look about like we left them last week. There's a little bit of progress here at the awning section over there by the mint julep bar. They're definitely prepping to do something there in the short term. You can see also that everything's been boarded up beneath that awning as well. Meanwhile, at the bandstand, about as we left it last week, and as we look into the main, the common area, the seating area of Tiana's Palace, I don't think they're going to be doing anything major there. That's just being used for staging, as best as I can tell. Can't see much either from the river side of Tiana's Palace. The scrim is up, and it's covering just about everything. Can't see anything really from the fountain side by Haunted Mansion. That's still mostly obscured. Meanwhile, as you can see, the scrim and walls are back up around the train station at the New Orleans Square train station. Where we're here last, that scrim was down. The scaffolding was up, but the scrim had been taken down. I don't know if we should be reading too much into that. I mean, it's possible that could be a sign that they are getting ready to do whatever it is that they're trying to do there. If it's to take it down or to repair it, I don't know which is the case. It's kind of 50-50, but if you were asking me to lean one way, I think a takedown is more likely than a refurb. But we'll stand by and pay attention to that. But for now, it's just the scrim is back up. It could be also that they're just doing that to obscure, to cover that building that does have some, that did have obvious visible signs of fire damage. Probably not great show. Shit the Shore Marketplace out in front of Big Thunder Mountain is back and looks to be fully restored. Hey guys, all right. The awning is back. Frozen lemonades are back. Turkey legs and chimichangas are all back. Quick update from Toontown and Goofy's Play Yard. We mentioned in a prior video that there were still some upgrades to happen here at Toontown and specifically at Goofy's house. We mentioned the birdhouse that was out here in the center in that little play area, that it was going to get an upgrade. It is now gone. They have taken that birdhouse out. Not a negative thing. It's not because of damage or wear and tear. It is my understanding that they are now ready to bring in the updated birdhouse. It's going to be more interactive. My understanding is that there's going to be some sound features installed so that kids will be able to interact with it. Meanwhile, right down here at the Dreaming Tree, the Brutes and all the other paint items appear to be holding up. I don't know what they've done differently, if they did do anything differently, or if they're just updating it more regularly on a nightly basis. But it's something that I've been watching. Every time I come here, I look in on the Roots to see how they're doing. After that quick deterioration on opening day, or the opening couple of days, since then, the Roots appear to have held up. So that's a good sign. Also, we're still waiting. I haven't seen any walls up here, so it's a good sign that whatever it is that they were concerned about with regard to the benches right here, they're still there. The benches are the way they are, configured the way they are for a reason. But no walls up yet to see any repair on the grassy areas. I do think it's still going to happen, just not as of yet. Let's jump on the monorail next, check in on the Matterhorn and downtown Disney construction. Monorail looks to be just as we left it last week. There's not a lot happening on the ground inside the fenced off area. Matter of fact, the vehicles are still on the tracks, which suggests that everything that they're doing is pretty much on the interior. What they're doing has nothing to do with what's going on the exterior of the attraction. A little bit of maintenance being done here, it looks like, on this part of the track, but nothing major that I can tell. And it does look like we're still on track for a June 2nd reopening of the Matterhorn. As for downtown Disney, as expected, we are now finally starting to see some aggressive work being done, some very definite and observable trends towards vertical construction. As we drive by, you can see that there are what appear to be maybe 3 or 4 distinct building areas for separate structures. There's the section in the lower part of your frame, which is well into its form stage. You can see that the trench is dug out and form's already in place, getting ready for foundation type stuff there. and then a larger one in the middle of the frame. That's probably going to be for retail. Look for forms there very soon in the trench part of it. And then in the rear of the frame, you can see a third defined space. My guess is that space is going to be for the bandstand, for the stage. Meanwhile, it looks like there's room for another. Hi guys, how are you? Meanwhile, it looks like there's room for a fourth build area, maybe fifth. I don't know. I'm not positive where the defined areas are. Hi guys. It's hard to see because it's kind of flat from our perspective on the monorail, but it does look like there's room for a fourth in the rear quarter of the frame, in the back, which could be, more retail most likely. And then in the forward quarter, in front of the bandstand, where it does not have any forms or trenches set up, more than likely that is going to be that grassy area that's in front of the bandstand for kids to play, etc. Grassy area, much like the grass we've seen recently in Toontown. Well, it looks like we have confirmed that Ralph Brennan's is in fact still a jazz kitchen. They have installed the signage above the entrance, the jazz kitchen signage. They are making that concept art a reality. That's confirmed as well. It's happening. That concept art is happening. I kid, of course. But yeah, so the area that we saw that was sort of cleared out in our last visit has been, in fact, turned into table service. They've arranged them in a more organized fashion. And those orange chairs are in place. That's just going to be very, it's so generic down there. It's so nothing inside there. I can't help but comment on that there's nothing happening on the ground where those people are going to sit. What is the theme in there? That can't be all there is. Is that all there is? I really do though. I think this is it. I think that's the whole show. We're going to find out in a matter of a couple of weeks. The sign is gone. The sign that says reopening soon is gone. That means it's actually reopening even sooner than that. Sooner than soon. Like, I'm talking maybe a week or two. While we're here in DC, hey, let's go and report that there's a cat. A cat has appeared outside of the Lucky Cat Cafe. I am going to go ahead and assume that is the Lucky Cat. Well, there you go. This is new too. The future of education is here. The San Francisco, I'm going to assume that says Institute of Technology. That's obviously the school that Hero goes to and meets his group of big heroes, the Big Hero 6. But it is still undetermined what San Francisco is the proud home of. Stay tuned. I'm legit curious what that's going to wind up being. I'm going to come back constantly and check and see what they are the proud home of. But for now, let's go back to Disneyland. And of course, the biggest news in terms of construction and things of that nature is right here in Fantasyland, where on June 5th, 3 dark rides are going down. Mr. Toad's, Peter Pan, and Alice in Wonderland. All 3 are going down at the same time, and all 3 for an indeterminate amount of time. These popped up on the calendar, on the refurb calendar, and are stay on the calendar for as far as we can see, which is presently June 11th. I expect it's going to be, a little while. We don't know exactly what the nature is of the refurb, trying to find out. This is something we touched on in our June guide, but there's a couple different ways to observe this situation. The fact that all 3 are going down at the same time is kind of important. Disney would never, under normal circumstances, ever close or shut down 3 attractions, 3 Fantasyland dark rides all at the same time. They just simply never would. If these were routine maintenance or something minor, non-emergency type situations, they would close one, refurb it, and close another, or reopen it and then close another. They would do each one separately, obviously. Never would they do all 3 at the same time unless it was absolutely necessary. So there is reason to be concerned that there's something perhaps, serious happening that would affect all 3 attractions at the same time. However, and again, this is something that we touched on in our June guide, all 3 of those attractions share a single show building. There's the facades, those are all separate, obviously, but the show building behind them, that's all pretty much the same building. So it's possible that whatever it is that they need to do, it affects all 3, and that's why they have to shut down all 3. But whatever it is that they're doing could be routine maintenance and not a serious situation. It's just a situation where it does affect all 3 attractions. We're going to try to find out. We're going to put our ears to the ground and see what we can learn. But for now, I'm going to assume the latter. I believe that this is probably not going to be a big deal. One thing that we can say I'm very confident in saying is that this is not an update. This is not an upgrade. Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan have both already seen or had their updates. Mr. Toad's right behind me. That needs an update. That hasn't gone. 3 of the 5 attractions at Fantasyland have had one. Obviously, we're expecting the other 2 to get one eventually. Toads and Pinocchio are the other 2. Toads will, at some future, get an update, but I don't believe that this is that situation. If they're going to do an update to Toad, or when they do an update to Mr. Toad's, it'll be the only attraction that goes down. Having said that, that's also the kind of thing that Disney would announce in advance. So I'm going to go with nothing terminal, everything's fine, it's just going to be down for a few weeks, we'll see, and then I'll let you know if I learn anything else. Note also that Ariel's Undersea Adventure here in DCA is also closing on June 5th, though that is just a coincidence. It's completely unrelated to the updates happening in Fantasyland for those dark rides. And that's our update for this week, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. And as always, stay tuned for more as we do these every single week. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, fresh baked.